Want to get out of debt without filing for bankruptcy? Our next guest can help you renegotiate your contract to help you lower the amount you owe. It's called debt settlement.
And here to explain are the Panda guys from Peters & Associates. That's attorneys Judah Zakalik, and Xenophon Peters. How are you guys?
Excellent.
How you doing?
Hello, welcome.
Thanks.
We briefed it at the top. Explain what debt settlement is.
Okay.
So debt settlement is just a means to get out of debt. So there's bankruptcy, there's debt consolidation, and there's debt settlement. And we just negotiate with your creditors to pay pennies on the dollar for what you owe.
Okay.
So typically you pay about 20 to 40% of what you owe, so you're saving about 60 to 80% of the debt.
Phenomenal.
So
Yeah,
this option
exactly.
is good for people who have a lot of debt that they can't manage?
I mean, it's really good for anyone. If you don't want to file a bankruptcy or you don't qualify for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which may be better in your situation, then we can always do debt settlement. It's just another option to get out of the debt. So we're not going to, if you come into us, we're not going to push you into a bankruptcy because that's the only thing we offer. We're going to say, hey, look, there's other things you can do too if you want to avoid bankruptcy.
Of course. Well, there's debt settlement, and then you hear about debt consolidation.
Yeah.
I did that when I was 19. It was not what I thought it was.
Right.
Explain what's the difference between the two.
So debt consolidation is where you possibly will get a loan to pay off all your debt, and then you have one monthly payment instead of paying maybe 5, 10 credit cards each. So you end up paying the full amount of the debt plus you're paying interest. Whereas with debt settlement, again, you pay about 20 to 40% of what you owe, so you're saving a ton of money settling.
You
as
lower
opposed
that
to-
amount
Exactly.
that is owed.
Exactly.
So you actually probably benefit more than what
A
he
lot
did.
more.
Yeah, benefit greatly. Yeah.
Yeah, my credit score tanked about 150 points, so did not necessarily work for me because it ended up closing all the accounts, which is not great for your credit.
And they're all going to affect your credit negatively, right? But the question is, do you save some money in it? And so with debt consolidation, you're not going to save any money. With debt settlement, you're going to save probably at least half.
And is that something that someone can do on their own, or that's nearly impossible?
No, they can. People can do it on their own. The question is, are you going to get a better result if you do it on your own? Just like anything in the law, you don't need a lawyer to do it. The question is, are you going to come out better if you do have a lawyer? Right?
But you guys do this all the time,
All
and
the
I'm
time.
sure you can negotiate better than someone who doesn't know what they're doing and gets the runaround.
Right. And we're also a bankruptcy firm, so we're able to threaten bankruptcy, and creditors will listen to that because they'd rather take something as opposed to nothing
Exactly.
in a bankruptcy.
Debt settlement, is it better than filing bankruptcy as far as credit's concerned, or?
Typically for your credit, it's a little bit better, so you're not going to have bankruptcy on your credit for 10 years. That's how long a bankruptcy stays on your credit report.
Yeah.
So debt settlement, the debt will be there for a less amount of time.
Right, it's going to show up as settled for less than the full amount on your credit. But either way, whatever we do, if we do debt settlement, if we do bankruptcy, we're going to show you how to get your credit score back up to 700 within 2 years,
Well,
which is a pretty quick turnaround.
A settlement is pretty much working in good faith with the creditor, though, which is why that will show up better on your credit report.
True.
As opposed to a bunch of late payments and just not paying.
Great.
Do you find that a lot of people get into trouble when they're younger and then they're paying for these things as they get older, and it takes them so long to pay this off, and that's why they're choosing this option?
You know, younger or older, we see all sorts of people come in with all sorts of problems. Sometimes it's medical debt that happens. You know, sometimes it's divorce. Sometimes it's someone dying in your family. Whatever the reason is, however you got into debt, we can help you get out of it. And sometimes it's just being young and a little bit naive.
Buying that couch when you couldn't afford it, or charging up the credit cards. A lot of people do that.
I think some
definitely.
people just think the bank's just going to sue, though. They're not going to settle. There's no way they'll settle. They'll sue. Why do they end up settling more often than suing?
Because they'd rather take something as opposed to nothing in a bankruptcy. So
Lawsuits can cost a lot, too.
And lawsuits cost a lot of money, so
Yeah.
they don't want to sue you, they don't want to try to garnish your wages, levy your bank account, all that costs money in terms of them hiring an attorney.
Yeah.
And a lot of people duck those types of lawsuits. So if you're able to pay them a little bit of money, usually the creditors are very happy.
It's the whole thing with a bird in the hand versus two in the bush, right? So they don't know what they're going to get. And even if you get sued, we can still settle that debt too. So don't think just because you got sued, that's the end of it. Now you must let your wages get garnished. No, there's still options for you.
Gotcha.
So if you get a threatening letter from your credit card or a bank, seek help. Or do
Always.
something. Just
Yes.
ignore it. Don't ignore it.
Don't ignore it.
Yeah, because that can cost you a lot in the end.
Right, the debt is only going to increase with interest, with costs. You know, when they put the lawyer's fees on there, it gets astronomical sometimes. So yeah, seek help.
What kind of debt are we settling here? 'Cause I remember all mine was consumer credit when I was an idiot 19-year-old with my big box store card and my PlayStation.
Right.
Is it just consumer credit? Is it where are we talking that we can
It's
settle?
mostly consumer credit, so paydays, medical bills, credit cards.
Paydays. Oh man, those
Yeah,
go
Those
out
are
of
the worst.
control.
Yeah. So it's very difficult to settle those, but they are willing to take a little bit less than what's owed because of that bankruptcy threat.
And we can get you on a repayment plan that makes sense, right? Those payday loan companies, a lot of times they want you to pay it back within 2-3 weeks, maybe a month. We can a lot of times stretch that over a year, and they're happy because they're going to get some money back.
Yeah.
And at what point would you want to file for bankruptcy?
Usually when you just can't afford the settlement. So a lot of people have a lot of debt, 30, 40, 50,000 in debt. When you multiply 20 to 40% times a lot of money, it's still a lot of money. So some people just can't afford to settle, and it's usually better for them to file bankruptcy if they're not making a certain amount of money and they don't have the money to settle.
There's a lot of cases where there's like a catastrophic financial event, whether it be like getting sick and having to pay all these medical bills. That could cause you
Of course,
to
yeah.
have the threat. Is that the biggest reason for bankruptcy?
You see a lot of medical bankruptcies, so people with a couple $100,000 in medical debt filing. But credit card debt is mostly, and paydays.
Yeah.
If you want to do a debt settlement, how long does it typically take?
We normally like to put our clients on a 1 year to a year and a half plan. So we normally don't want to go any longer than a year and a half. And if it's going to take longer than that, then we might counsel them to consider bankruptcy, because that might be a better option. The problem is if you take too long, then you're going to start to get sued. And although, like I said, we can still settle that lawsuit, that range goes up from that 20 to 40% range to maybe 70%.
Is the settlement directly connected to how much money you make? Do you have to prove insolvency to be able to get that settlement, or can you be making solid money and just say, you know what, I just want to settle this and get out of my life?
Usually it depends on the creditor. Some creditors force you to submit a financial worksheet
I
and
see.
show how much you make and what your expenses are. But most creditors don't.
Right.
So a lot of our clients are people who can afford their bills sometimes, but they would just rather pay pennies on the dollar and be able to afford their mortgage,
Get it
food,
done, get it out of
utilities,
their
things
life.
like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, so most of the time they're not going to dig too deep. That's a good thing.
Awesome. Well, it's great having
That's
you,
good
John.
tips for us.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you so much. Don't let your debt get out of control. Let the attorneys at Peters & Associates help you file a settlement to lower what you owe. The Panda Guys are located on South Decatur at Flamingo, and to learn more, just give them a call or visit the website listed. You can also find them on Facebook and Twitter.